Yeah, after she eats, though, from what I've noticed, she's like a 50-year-old after Thanksgiving dinner. You know?
Nice.
She just like lays right down.
Nice.
Yep. So,
are we rolling right now?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't? So we're live. Do we want to introduce Anna?
oh, we can do that.
Yeah, we should do that. We should do that right off the front. This is for Nicole. Let's get Anna in here and try to get her on a camera so people can see Anna.
She's wandering around now.
She's wandering around. We need to try to retrieve her.
Yep.
First dog on the show, all the way from Lansing, Michigan. Get Anna up there. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, there you go. You want to give the quick background here with Anna? Anna needs a home, right?
So Anna is a foster. The Cottums are fostering Anna. She's 9 months old. We think like a Jack Russell Whippet, maybe.
Look at that. She's right up on the mic.
Yeah, she's ready to chat.
She has some shit to say.
She
has some stories from the last 9 months.
Yeah, she's I think from Georgia. Actually.
Really? Georgia.
But yeah. Oh, here you go, Anna. She's ready to talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're looking for a home for Anna. So she's a sweet girl. She'll make a perfect.
Here we go.
Trail dog for somebody. Awesome trail dog.
So if somebody would like to adopt this fine Anna, contact you, contact Nicole. What's the story?
I would go Nicole Cottam.
Because Anna's going back to Lansing with you.
She's riding back to Lansing today.
Need to find her a home. Boy, she would fit in well in the UP.
Oh, she would.
Somebody needs to step up and give her a home.
Yep. Trail dog
Extraordinaire.
Yep. She's fast.
All right. Well, maybe we put this out and maybe it hooks somebody. Mark, you need a dog?
I do not.
You hesitated. You hesitated.
He thought about it a second.
I would absolutely love to have a dog, but
Look, she came right over to you as soon as I said that. How can you say no to that face?
Yeah, there's a connection there. It's happening.
There is. There's I can see hearts above her.
Between you and Cottums, I think you should just stay. Somebody should be here full time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Nicole, step up.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this. Jameson Orange.
Yeah. So when you asked me to come on, I said we got to start the podcast with an Irish toast. I am an Irish man, and so it seems only right.
So describe what's the relevance of the orange?
So the orange, the zip ties on the Margie on the Margie plates, the carabiners on the walkie-talkies for Adventure Bike Club. It just seems like orange seems like a commonality with 906. So I picked orange this morning. So
well, cheers to Jameson Orange. What time are we at here? Let me see this.
9:05.
Wait, we got to hold this till 9:06. Yeah. We got 2 minutes.
Time to pour.
Oh, let's get Mark a pour. I feel like we need a cycling-centric toast, too.
You can leave
for
the
this.
toast. We'll do that. We'll cut her off at 9:06. Ugh. Jameson Orange, that's new.
Yeah, that's a good one.
How many grams of protein?
Yeah, you're gonna have to add something.
Yeah, we'll have to get some Proform whey protein in here and mix it in,
and drop your creatine in there as well.
Yeah, we got the creatine over here.
Oh, of course.
That's locked in and ready. Stopped over at shout out to Marquette Nutrition here. So I've got like a protein shake, got a protein blueberry muffin. We have the creatine, and then we got the Jameson Orange.
Oh man,
it's quite the combination. And then immediately after this, I guess I'll just go rage in the gym for a while.
Yeah. Are you at like a gram of protein per body weight? Are you that guy?
No, I don't get that into the data on that. No, I just eat a lot of steak.
Yeah,
and I count on it. 9:06 a.m. James, lead us.
So, cycling-centric toast. May the road ever be at your feet and the rubber always underneath you.
And the wind in your face.
And the wind in your face.
Cheers.
Salute.
There's definitely some orange going on in there. Yay.
Breakfast.
That's pretty good, though.
Breakfast.
That's solid. So, funny story on zip ties. You wouldn't think that zip ties would be a big contentious part of an event, but zip ties in the 10 years, 11 years we've been doing this, there's a very specific type of zip tie we want to use, and it's always got to be a very specific color.
Okay.
And it can't just like for orange for Margie. We want orange because that's on brand.
Right.
But it can't be any orange because you'll get some orange zip ties that show up that look like dreamsicle.
Highlight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not acceptable. So you need like a full on, solid, deep, but vibrant orange.
Pumpkin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blue zip ties for polar roll.
Mm-hmm.
And really no zip ties technically for Crusher because we don't do name or number plates
Right.
for that event. We do the tags, because we got to have a timing chip off the bike. But
Beacons.
yeah, beacons black. So yeah, every detail matters.
It's important.
Green for bike club.
Green for bike club.
Yeah, those zip ties are awesome too.
They are. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great. But yeah, there's been many times in the past 10 years where zip ties show up, 10,000 of them. And I'm like, no, we ain't using them.
Send them back.
And then everybody's like, the fuck?
Start over.
Get a different one.
Yeah. Speaking of bike club, I got to experience the OG.
Yes.
Bike
So
club
tell
last
me,
night.
tell us.
Yeah.
Talk through it. That was awesome.
It was awesome. So I've been a adventure bike club coach for 2 years out of Lansing, Michigan, Burchfield location.
Yep. Led by Lori DeYoung.
Yeah, Lori's awesome out there, and she's rocking it. Great team. But yeah, you invited me up to do this podcast. It's kind of a turn and burn trip for me. But I said, oh, shoot, I'm going to be up there on Monday night. I got to see the real deal. I got to see where where it started. So
And you were in with Matt, right? Winfield?
Matt was awesome.
Yeah. He's been doing it 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah. He was a great lead coach. And then another young lady that helped with that team. I forget her name right off the bat.
Who was with Matt last night?
I think.
Started with an E.
Oh, Ella.
Ella. Yeah, she's hoping to be the youngest Triple Crown achiever in the history of 906, right?
That is her desire, yes.
Yeah.
Quick note on her. Ella's been in the program since she's this tall.
Yeah.
Her brother, Wyatt, was in it before her. So he was one of the original kids on the race team that we started taking to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever met a nicer pair of brother, sister, mom, and dad. Just super down to earth, hardworking, super talented, super humble.
Yeah.
It's the combination you don't find a lot these days.
Right.
She's just a wonderful, wonderful girl. Wyatt's a wonderful boy, and the family's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome coach. She was right there with the kids, teaching technique, climbing, shifting, using the gears, level pedals, all those things,
Yeah.
It was a great night. So yeah, really good team of coaches to dive in with last night, and the kids were super cool.
So last night it was kind of a hybrid because we've had to cancel the first 2 Mondays due to rain.
I've heard.
So last night you were doing sort of an abbreviated orientation, right?
Right.
and then you did get to ride with the kids as well.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was great. We had a lot of victory moments for a handful of the kids. Like we took them over some of these Rudy, bridgy sections, and there was a couple kids that jumped off their bikes before they even attempted the first time. And then we took them over those points to finish the night. And a couple of the kids were like, yeah, we got through it. We didn't jump off our bikes. We didn't lift our feet off the pedals, all those things. And so, yeah, some cool victory moments for those kids last night, just in the first night. So yeah, it was a good time.
That's amazing. Bringing that up. So think about that. You were probably riding for what, 45 minutes?
45 minutes.
You never left Tourist Park proper.
No.
So you go out on a trail that they probably have never been on. And their first time through, some kids will ride the whole thing, no problem. Some kids are going to hop off, like you said.
Yep.
You go past that, right? There's no judgment. If you don't ride it, fine. Hop back on your bike. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah.
Not a high pressure environment. You come back around to it later. Now, because they've seen it, the kids who didn't ride it, and they've experienced it, and now they have a map on it mentally, they can ride it.
Absolutely.
It's that quick. That's how simple it is to start creating building blocks of success for kids.
Absolutely. And that's the concept of doing hard things, right?
Yeah.
And that's, those hard things get less hard the more hard things you do.
Yep.
And so yeah, it was a cool victory scenarios for a handful of kids last night. And then the super skilled kids, we had one young fella that was like talking about how he was climbing Marquette Mountain Road before he came to ABC. And so extremely skilled rider.
He's dropping some brags there.
Yeah, there was a little brag.
Humble brag.
But yeah, super skilled rider, but also really cool with all the other kids and just having fun and not trying to like show off or anything like that. So
that's a cool dynamic. That's something I think that is unique to our program. And it's one of the things I think that helps set it apart and really helps benefit those more skilled kids from a standpoint of understanding a position of leadership and skill and modeling the right behaviors.
Yep.
And then for the kids who maybe aren't at that level of he or she, I've said this before, I love the fact that when those kids are in the group, let's say more experienced kids, and they can ride stuff that the other kids can't ride, those more experienced kids take impossible off the table.
Right.
So these other kids, they're not in a group of 10 kids who can't do it.
Yep.
Because those kids will say, oh, well, nobody can ride that. That's impossible. And you don't have anybody there to disprove that. So they get that in their head. And then nobody will ride it. But at Bike Club, that's not the case.
No, they have an example right there.
There's always somebody in that group that is not an adult. That's also the key. You want it to be a kid, an equal.
Right.
Not an adult, because it'll be like, well, yeah, but you're the coach.
Yep.
That's why you can do it.
Right. Yeah, especially up here too. Obviously downstate the dynamics a little different with kids. We're not known for elevation in Lansing,
right,
and terrain like that. And so up here you have a certain demographic of rider that has experienced some of those more technical trails. Before they even get to ABC. Sometimes. So it's not uncommon to have a team of riders downstate that's like, it's the first time on their bike. You got 8 kids and they've never ridden a bike before. And so then it's all coach, all coach teaching.
So this year, did you have kids come into Burchfield that hadn't ridden before or don't know how to ride?
Dude. Yeah. Yeah. So we had first night on bike last week. We had a kid that he's ridden a bike before, but we're talking about like around his block,
right,
in his neighborhood. And so he came in, very inexperienced, very green, not just on a bike, but just green on the idea of doing hard stuff, athletic things, challenging things. And super funny kid, joker, had things to say about everything. But he was scared. And he crashed in the first probably 50 yards of our ride last week. He went down. He was talking about quitting in the first half mile. And
is this the kid you posted about?
Yeah. And he and we got him 6.2 miles that night. Just continued motivation, continued positive reinforcement, just like the coaches paired up with him and just continued to reinforce I think the character skill of the week was respect. And so we preached that with our whole team multiple times. We regrouped at top of hills and had him cheer, the team was cheering him up the hills and just talking him up the whole time. And so by the end of the night, 6.2 miles. He complained that he was going to die multiple times.
Because why? Because it's hard? Hot?
Hot. Yeah, like stuff. He'd never done it before. He said maybe the longest ride on his bike he's ever been was like a mile. And so, and again, in his, pavement neighborhood. And so like 6.2 miles on single track dirt that's a whole new world.
Oh. How old is he?
He was 13. Yeah.
And 13.
And 13. So just amazing night. The team clapped him in at the end of the night. We went down this big hill toboggan run. So like he didn't want to do it, but we stood at the top and just looked at it together for like 5 minutes before he went down. And we talked about level pedals, weight back, bend the knees, bend the elbows, all that stuff. Use your brakes, control your speed.
Use both brakes.
Yeah.
Not the front brake.
Just the front. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
But yeah. And, eventually he pushed off and rode the toboggan hill down and team clapped him in. It was a really awesome way to end the night. So,
yeah, I think that's huge. You take a kid who's 13 like that, and if you can take him from thinking about quitting to riding 6 miles, the big pivot there is that kid has somebody there who A, believes in him, right? The group.
Yeah.
And B, you're going to kind of, in a gentle way, but still sort of firm, hold them to some sort of standard. Like, no, you can do this.
100%. Yeah.
And, it's like the first time, maybe we'll walk it. Maybe we'll walk a lot.
Yeah, we did.
And that's where you got to start.
Yep.
There's some lessons in that too, I think, for kids and also for adults to like understand that sometimes your first obstacle is your ego.
Right. Yeah.
That's the first thing you got to be able to get over, And then once you can get past that and be like, okay, I guess I'm starting by walking over this stuff. And this group of people are not judging me for it. You can start to get some traction and some momentum, and then pretty soon they're riding over that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where it did start with him. He was a lot of negative self-talk, like, I suck. I'm so slow.
Right.
Everybody's waiting for me. Every time I turn around, they're gone.
Yeah.
All these things that he was just saying out loud. And so we're just like, get rid of that stuff, man.
So he is saying like outwardly, critiquing himself, like
critique.
I suck.
Yeah, comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just talked to him about replacing those things, replacing those comments with like, hey, Aiden, it was Aiden. I'm proud of myself. You're doing something you never done before. Like, whoa, you climbed that hill. Like just saying those things to yourself rather than, dang, I'm slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just that positive affirmation rather than that negative self-talk.
Sure.
Is
your
powerful.
words kind of paint the picture of your reality.
Yeah.
That's, your words are the space that you are occupying. So if they're all negative, you're in a negative space.
Yeah.
Change your words.
Yep.
And maybe change the people you're around.
Yeah.
I mean, in the case of Bike Club, I think actually, we've trained 560 or 600. I don't know what the number ended up at. What did we end up at for volunteer training? Do you know?
Yeah, between, I think 575 maybe.
Yeah. So damn near 600 people, all these coaches are getting trained, kind of following that same ethos of meeting kids where they are, not judging kids based on their ability or lack of ability, and just trying to get them on a path to personal development. Like that's huge for kids.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. And they don't get that much anymore.
They do not, and neither do adults.
Right.
Because it seems like there's just a lot of people, entrenched in positions to take one or the other down or each other down. Right?
Yeah. That's the world I came from. I was a highly competitive youth wrestling coach for 15 years. And so that was my life as a coach to build, to break down and build, honestly.
Sure. How big was the wrestling team?
120 kids normally per year.
What ages?
We coached kids from 3 years old. That's how old my son was when he started, and the club went all the way up to junior high age. So what is that? 13, something like that.
Yeah,
14.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, Cable's 14, and he's just leaving. He's exiting 8th grade, going in. He's going to be a freshman this fall.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was we had, normally we had about 10 coaches that started with the littles, and then we had a middle group.
Yeah.
And then we had a highly competitive advanced group that was, probably about 30 kids. We usually ran 2 different competitive travel teams each season. Yeah.
The competitive arena is really interesting to me. I'm sure you probably saw this as a wrestling coach. because I just kind of wandered back into travel basketball this past spring. And when you go to the tournaments and you're playing against legitimately high-level talent, we're going down to Milwaukee, we're going down to Appleton, and yeah, those teams are good. It was really interesting to watch the dynamic between coaches and the kids. There were some teams that I thought really represented the competitive model exceptionally well. And then I thought there were some that showed everything that's wrong with the competitive model.
Right.
With coaches literally berating the kids between, during timeouts. Yeah. Profanity-laced things that you would expect to hear on an ore boat out on Superior. Those things, those are the downsides to it that drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Those kids don't need that.
No. Yeah, it's a hard balance.
Yeah.
On the competitive side. Some brutal honesty, some self-reflection as a coach. One of our parents one year, we were at team state finals, and we had our A team there, and they were not performing well, and we kind of had a break in the action, and one of the moms took a photo of me when I was talking to the kids, and my face was red, and the parents, they laughed about it. It was a big joke because they, to this day, they know that like I loved those wrestlers, like
sure.
Loved them, but man, I was hard on them that day, and so I think about that day a lot because as a coach, you have your successes and your failures so often. So that day was not good. We had high expectations. We were expected to be, for sure top 5 in the state that day. And like the kids showed up. My son that was supposed to be captain showed up and just laid an egg,
What do you think caused it?
Preparation. Coach's fault. Honestly, we didn't prepare them for the moment. It was a big arena, a lot of people, a lot of noise, We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about the mental side of it. We worked on the technique. We worked on getting them in shape, making sure they were prepared, physically. Sure. The mental side was the part that we missed that year. We never made that mistake again, actually. We corrected a lot of things there. Had some like psychology, in coaching, talks with kids after that, especially the ones that just like showed up to that arena and just kind of went, "Whoa!"
Yeah. How big was it? How many people?
It was probably 8,000 people total.
Yeah, oh, that's a lot. Yeah. And how old are these kids competing?
We're talking
like the A team, you said, right?
Fifth to 8th grade. Oh, so
that's young.
Yeah, real young. So we're talking like the lightweights were in like 5th grade, and then we're up to that upper junior high level.
Here's my thing on the different levels of youth development. And I told this to the kids that were on the team, on the AAU team that we were traveling with this spring. If you want to, if you see yourself in the future playing at the highest level of anything, you have to be prepared to sacrifice.
100%.
And they should be hearing that at home. Because the highest level, the most elite of the best, the elite of the elite, they don't do 3-4 sports. They're not dinking around sampling stuff, being good at a bunch of stuff. They find one thing and they obsess about it.
Yeah.
And then they get driven by their coaches. And they have to be coached in a different way than you would coach a kid at bike club.
Right.
It's totally different. Like the type of coaching that those groups of kids need are vastly different. I'm not going to coach a adventure bike club group 10 the way I'd go coach an AAU team I'm traveling with.
Right.
Because that group of kids at bike club are not going to respond in the same way.
Right.
That's the nuance to coaching, and that's the nuance to developing programs that help different groups of kids find their best.
Right.
You got to, everybody has the best version of themselves, but they all have different ways that they need to get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we call life an adventure.
Right.
Because there isn't one path that we all take. Everybody has a different path.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it, we were just talking about this yesterday, Mark and I with Elizabeth, and I know if I don't like me in the competitive environment, I don't like who I become.
Right.
I can go into an AAU team, or I could go into a competitive high-level team, and I can coach those kids to win because I understand how to win, but I don't like what it does to me.
Sure.
I like where we're at with 906 and that type of community building and that kind of competitor building where it's it's not success is not a finite resource. It's not scarce. It's you versus you, and everybody can find some sort of success in any particular moment at any particular given time.
Right. And that's where the majority of people live, right? That's where most of the kids are at.
That's where we spend most of our time in our life.
Yeah, and they're not, you're talking the elite athlete is the 2%. And then everybody else in the normal sports structure gets forgotten about.
Yeah.
And so
and that's just the reality, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not right or wrong. That's the way that system has been developed.
Yeah.
The best are going to go on. Everybody else is left behind.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yeah. No, that's what I love about Adventure Bike Club is that it hits on that demographic of young human that is so ready to be a part of something, looking to be a part of something, and man, I can't imagine. I was a wrestler from a young age. I was always a part of something, and so, but same with my oldest son. He was a wrestler from 3 years old on through college, and so he was always a part of something. My youngest son didn't want anything to do with what Christian did, my oldest. He saw the work that Christian had to put in. He saw the injuries. He saw the time. And he was always looking to be part of something, but could never find it. And so...
Which a lot of kids are in that spot.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, he didn't find it until college.
Yeah.
And as a parent, that's hard to sit back and watch them through that struggle and through watching them try to figure it all out.
Right.
But you kind of have to.
Yeah.
It's their story, right?
Right.
And so, that's what I love about ABC. It's like it gives kids like, man, if that was around when Ty was that age, I know this gets said a lot. I wish ABC was around when I was. I lived right down the street from Burchfield Park where the event happens every week. I would have been there for sure.
Yeah.
But if that was around when Ty was young, like he would have been in it and probably riding a bike. He's the one that still won't ride a bike though.
Well, that might change.
We're working on it.
You never know. How old is he now?
He's almost 21.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You never know. Did he ever ride at all?
He rode DT with us like one time and crashed like 4 times. Yeah.
Well, that'll be a memory.
Yeah. Yeah. He still brings it up quite often. So
yeah, this morning. So last night I sat down with Cable, our youngest. He's on spring break now.
Yep.
The first week summer break.
Yep.
The first week of summer break, he went to Camp Cottage with Grandma and Grandpa, hung out there. Now we're back. And last night I'm like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to get you up at about 7 and you're going out the door with me when I head to base camp to do the podcast with James. I'm dropping you at the PEEF and you're going to be there for about 2 or 3 hours. And, then we talk through what he's going to do.
Yep.
100 shots of this, 100 shots of that, 100 shots of this.
Yeah.
Setting that expectation. When we're done, I'll get him, take him home. He's going to mow the lawn.
Yep.
And then tonight at 5 o'clock, he goes to open gym for the freshman team. And we've done this with both boys. Basically saying, because Cable really aspires to play basketball at a high level, at the highest level at least possible during high school. So what we're saying is, if this is your goal, this is what you need to do to work toward it.
Right.
Now, if you want to do less, if this is too much work, if you're not interested and dedicated to the work and you want to work here, you need to adjust
the goal.
The goal.
Yeah.
And then we'll adjust both.
Yep.
right? But to get to this level, the amount of work required, that will never be adjusted. We're not going to tell you, oh, you can do less and still aspire to that.
Right.
Because you know what that is? That's lying to your kids.
It's not honest.
No, it's not honest. You're giving them a false impression of what it takes to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we do it. I dropped him off, and he's all smiles, and he's all in. He loves it.
Yeah.
If that ever changes, then we'd adjust.
Yeah, you have to. You have to be flexible with kids. My son, my oldest, he was a state champ by the time he was 6 years old. Undefeated, unscored upon going into freestyle season. He was just running the show. 6 years old, He's a big
It seems crazy that you're state champion at 6 years old.
No, but he come home from practice one day and he was like, "Dad, I'm quitting wrestling." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "It's not fun. It's not fun anymore." I was like, "All right, how about we quit this season?" He'd been wrestling since he was 3 years old. So, and we were like 2 weeks away from state. It was like, as a parent and a coach, I was like, we got to finish this out. No, we got to finish this out. But on second thought, I was like, this might ruin this for forever. And so he said, no, let's just be done this year. Let's just be done this year. And so we were done. We went on a road trip, did some traveling, did some hiking, and then came back next year. He was all fire, on fire, ready to go again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you got to be flexible with kids.
Got to remember they're kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see too often, I think sometimes, that parents end up, what they're doing is driven more by some self-satisfaction that they're getting from the child's success, or reliving some missed opportunity. And that is just, that's tough. That's tough, because you can take a kid and ruin them.
100%. I've seen it many times.
Yeah, our first one of our first years, we had a girl on the race team, and after that first year, she stopped racing. I think she stopped riding her bike.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. It's like, this activity and what she can take from it, and then later apply to the totality of her life, is far more important than what she will or won't do on the podium.
Right.
And I've never forgot that.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times. We had parents when I was coaching wrestling come to us and just say, "Coaches, your practices are not hard enough.
Yeah,
they're not challenging our kids enough."
Yeah.
And we're talking about practices where we would go for 2 hours with the advanced team, and then finish with a finisher. I actually texted my fellow coach from back in the day last night. I said, "What was the total amount of burpees the most we ever had our kids do at the end of a practice, back in the day?" And he said, "If I remember correctly, it was 115 burpees straight at the end of a 2-hour wrestling practice. Crazy." And there were parents coming to us after that going, "It's not hard enough.
Yeah,
you got to push them harder."
Yeah.
And so keep in mind, the majority of the kids that we coached in those years, most of them stayed.
Yeah.
And they kept wrestling, and they kept going. They kept excelling at the sport. Every one of my son's teammates as a senior year, in his senior year, graduating, had an opportunity or did wrestle in college. And that carried on for the next 5 years after that. Mm-hmm. Almost all the graduating seniors had an opportunity or did wrestle in college. So they were getting pushed plenty hard.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't good enough for some.
Yeah. That's been, and you've seen it as a coach, a unique part of our program.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, here's who we are, what we do, here's why we do it, all the stuff, right?
Right.
Take it or leave it. Like, you want to sign your kids up, that's a voluntary act. That's great. We look forward to working with your kids. If you're not on board, if you don't like it, if you think this or that, you need something else, we're okay with that, but we're not changing it for you.
Right.
That was a very deliberate position from the get-go that we were going to develop a program for the kids,
Yep.
not for the parents,
Right.
because every parent comes in with their own agenda, right? And it's generally driven based only on what's good for their kid or what they think is good for their kid or what they want for their kid,
Right.
with no consideration to the other 300 kids
Sure.
or the other 1,200 kids in the case of
Right.
Bike Club,
Yeah.
right? We're here for the kids, and your opinion matters, but we're not going to change the program for you.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. You signed up, you paid money.
Yeah. Where does that end to?
Yeah.
You change for one.
Well, I think that too many youth organizations end up being driven by the parents. So what happens a lot of times in the competitive arena, a parent comes in, becomes super active and engaged, right? Level 10 engagement, does this, does that. And as soon as the kids moved on, out.
Yeah.
So you got, there's no continuity
Yeah.
most of the time. It's all over the place. It's just following the whims of the current group of parents that are in.
Moving target. Yeah.
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 Nothing wrong. I mean, that's great. If it's a good experience for the kids, fantastic. But is it for the kids? How much of it is actually for the parents?
Most of it. Yeah.
How much do the parents like running around, traveling, showing the kids off? Oh, here's my kid. He won.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe let's develop more kids that can assimilate into society and focus more on success being an infinite resource, not something that they got to beat the shit out of all the other kids they have.
Yeah.
That's my thought. I know it's crazy, but just be good humans.
Good humans. Yeah.
We are, there's a deficit right now, if you go on social media at least.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a deficit of people willing to get along and reach across the aisles and stuff.
You're not kidding.
Yeah. It's ugly out there, folks.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, talk to me, before I forget to ask this, talk to me about Dirt School. Because Burchfield has Dirt School, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that, because I think it's been there for several years.
Yeah. So
It's really cool. It's unique. Pretty big project.
Yeah. Huge project. So the project was spearheaded by the Triple MBA,
Yep.
Mid-Michigan Mountain Biking Association.
Which
and
you're part of.
I'm the president of the Mid-Michigan
Yes.
Mountain Biking Association.
Shout out to the Triple MBA.
Yeah, the Triple MBA is awesome organization. Ton of phenomenal individuals on the board and supporting, not just on the board, but just help out with our trails each and every day of the year. We manage 7 different trail systems in mid-Michigan, from state parks to local parks, and continually working with the landowners and townships to gain new and extended access to those trails and build new trails and make them better. But yeah, Burchfield has Dirt School. That's where our Adventure Bike Club is, on the west side of Lansing. And we have Eastgate as well. So we have 2 ABCs in Lansing. But Dirt School is a technical kid terrain park, so to speak. It's a bike park, but in a small scale. It's got raised skinnies and weaving skinnies and raised wall rides and for ABCs we're not allowed to do the drops, but it's got drop zones. Smaller drop zones probably might be considered large for most riders actually, but for people that like to do drops and kind of do that type of thing, they'd be considered more kid friendly.
Yep.
Jumps, rollers, it kind of covers the gamut of technical skill building. And then it goes all the way down to almost like the toddler level, where the skinnies are just a couple inches off the ground, and they're very friendly, and the rollers are very friendly to the beginner rider. And so pretty huge project. It was spearheaded by Ann Grofert. She was our former president of the Triple MBA, and just a huge passion project for her and the organization. But yeah, it's an awesome little piece right there in mid-Michigan for youth mountain biking and skill building.
How many skill building areas like Dirt School are available down in the Lansing area. Would that be the only one of its kind?
I would say that's absolutely the only one. Yes. Eastgate has kind of a pump track build that they can take the kids through that does help with those skills to a certain extent. But this one is like a whole another level.
So from a trail organization standpoint, you've been president for a year?
Year. Yeah.
Okay. And this might just be personal opinion too. Like I'm not asking you to speak, officially on behalf of the Triple MBA. Obviously, because we run a youth program and we're very youth centric, one of the things within our focus is looking at communities and what do they have available for trail infrastructure for children. And I'm talking like kids as young as kids on striders.
Right.
I feel like it's getting better, but I feel like historically there's been a deficit in the area of emphasis on building stuff at that very introductory level for kids. I've jokingly said that middle-aged men are really good at building trails for themselves.
Sure.
And not so good at building trails for kids. Why do you think and maybe you disagree, which is totally cool too. I feel like it's been missed. I think it's coming more on the radar now. They are the future, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's your opinion on it? If you've got one asset down in Lansing, I can't even think besides South Trails has the little pump track around by the pavilion. We have Vandenboom, that pump track, that's cool. Ramba has, they built something around the Hob.
Yeah, there's some,
and they have the wood,
and they're continuing to build kids specific trails in that area.
Yeah. So they've been, I think, pretty active in that. And we got the bicycle playground that was built in 2021. Why aren't more areas doing more for kids?
Well, it's like any activity, right? Like, so if you're not giving youth a space to practice, build skills at a young age, then how are you going to sustain that activity through adulthood? Like, tennis courts, kids can get on a tennis court anywhere. Basketball courts, they can get on a basketball court anywhere. Practice, get better. We have all these natural spaces that are just sitting idle.
Yeah.
In most cases, obviously there's some things we got to work through when we cut trail.
Yeah,
natural
for sure.
space, which we should be responsible in those areas. But yeah, we got to look to the future, especially with cycling. It is a niche sport. Mm-hmm. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. And if we're not, but it's also one of those things like what's the first toy that most kids get when they're 2 or 3?
Yeah, a bike.
They're getting a bike with some training wheels on it, And so if you give those kids a space to grow at that age and just continue to grow, they're just going to have, I have to believe that foundation is going to be set.
You used an interesting word there. You said the first toy they get.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
And now I agree that it has been looked at as a toy, but then it gets treated like a toy.
Sure.
Not cared for, not seen for its fullest potential.
Yeah.
With our program, I think I've said for years, I don't see kids riding a bike. I see kids using a tool to develop skills, get stronger, connect with nature, connect with each other. And I think that is part of a change or a shift in thinking that needs to happen. Because even the industry, if you look at the level of youth cycling right now, that predominantly driven by NICA, their focus is more kids on bikes, which is great, but that is a sales pitch for people selling bikes.
Right.
The emphasis to me should be on the child, not the bike, and that bike being a tool that they can use for life.
Yeah, I hear that.
The other interesting thing, when you can activate, this would be my pitch for why you need to build more stuff for kids and families immediately in all communities, is when you bring a child in to bike club, let's say he or she's 5 or 6, you're not just bringing a 5 or 6-year-old into this community. You're bringing a mom, you're bringing a dad, you're bringing grandparents,
sisters. Yeah,
brothers and sisters,
yep,
friends. If you can, through serving the child, activate the family, think about how much better off you are. Not only as a trail organization or a nonprofit, 906 Venture Team, but as a community. Right? We have literally seen hundreds of families start riding bikes because their kid started in bike club. And then their kid wants to ride a bike. Well, if you're 7, you're not riding alone.
right.
Somebody's got to go with you.
Yeah, it's a snowball.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is like, I think sometimes there's certain people in the industry that look at it too much as a business, and that's their only emphasis or focus or care. And then there's a contingent of people who are just really literally focused on what they like to do, what they like to ride, and it's just their hobby. And we need more people looking at what can this do for human potential
Sure.
and community potential.
Right. And then the snowball of health and wellness, right?
It's 100% what
Yeah.
it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'd have fewer psychopaths on social media.
Your people for sure.
Getting their aggression
they'd
out on
be
the trail.
off it more often,
Yeah.
They wouldn't be plugged in so much. They'd just be out in the woods.
Does Eastgate, would they have a space that something could be built?
Sure. Yeah, the pump track that they have there is prime.
So is the pump track dirt or is it paved?
It's dirt.
Okay, so dirt, pump track. Do they have skinnies, rollers, any of that stuff?
They have a few skinnies, if I remember correctly. So Eastgate, strangely, is not a trail system that the MMMBA manages. But it is.
Why is that?
It's just not one of ours.
Is it anybody's?
Meridian Township.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the township manages
Yeah.
the park.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
What's the process look like if the MMMBA wanted to take that on and assume responsibility for it?
Yeah. So
would you approach the township?
Yeah, we'd approach the township, and it's really the same if it was a vacant piece of land or if trails already existed. But we would approach the township and say, hey, we love this trail system. We want to partner with you to better maintain it, to open up accessibility for more mountain bikers, for more cyclists. Let's work on an MOU, mutual of understanding.
Yep.
And we can develop some parameters which our organization will work under with your organization, and then it either blossoms from there or they go, no, we're good. So and so that's always that is the job of a mountain bike organization, right?
Right.
It's that governmental advocacy.
Yeah.
It's the work that no one enjoys. It's not like riding a bike. It's not fun. It's
the hard stuff.
It's phone calls and emails and discussions and board meetings and fights, at board meetings.
Yep.
And so, friendly fights.
Sure.
But
of course.
But it is the work that no one wants to do.
Yeah.
So
what big projects for MMMBA on the horizon? Anything you're working on right now is big, or anything you're planning that you can talk about?
Yeah. So huge win for us last year. We had one of our parks we've managed and been a part of since 2008. We had a township that decided pretty much overnight that they were going to enforce a ordinance on that park that they had never enforced, that wouldn't allow bikers in the park after like 5 p.m. at certain points of the year. Kind of a dawn to dusk rule. This park.
What was prompting that?
There was a complaint by a neighbor.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a complaint by a neighbor. And prior to that, this park was used specifically for nighttime training for events like Margie. We have a huge contingent in the Lansing area that loves 906 events, and so this
906 in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to mention that. I'm glad that you brought it up. There is a huge extension of the 906 community in is it 616?
517.
517.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazingly impressive how connected the 517 is to the 906. And so we would use this park. I mean, we'd be out there at 10, 11 o'clock, using our lights, getting comfortable, riding bike in the dark. And
is the trail technical?
it's probably one of our more technical trails.
Okay, so that would make sense in why you're kind of using it.
Yeah.
As a training grounds.
Yep. And so this ordinance hadn't been enforced, ever at this park. And there was one complaint. And pretty much once the time changed last fall, they shut our riding down at 5 p.m. It gets dark at 5 p.m. certain points of the year. And so cyclists, mountain bikers, hikers, trail runners, everybody that was using that park after work, honestly, just completely lost access to recreate in that park for 5 to 6 months out of the year now because of that dusk rule. And so so we organized and we attended board meetings and we spoke and we wrote community letters and we got the news involved and I set up meetings with township trustees and gave tours at the park and showed them around and just how awesome the park was and how and why it's so important that we as trail users had access to that park even in the wintertime.
Yep.
And so just about a month ago, the township changed the ordinance. They created new rules for that park specific because it is a mountain bike specific park. Most landowners don't like to say those things. Yeah. But that park really didn't exist as a park until the MMMBA came in and built those trails. So,
gotcha.
And so our users once again will have access to that park, come November this next year when it starts getting dark again early. And so that was really exciting. And the momentum that created, just that work that created from our organization with our membership and with the trail users, that connection that our trail users had to the organization, just from the work that was put in was phenomenal. I think our membership grew like 33% in a matter of about 5 months.
That's big.
It's huge. It's huge for a small mountain bike community. So
did your I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry. Okay. With what you were doing there, all these meetings, all the letters you're writing, you essentially got the ordinance changed, which then reopened this park space to the public, not just mountain bikers.
Not just mountain bikers. And that was very specific in our wording. Yeah. Because we believe that public spaces are public spaces and the public should have access to those spaces. Yes. And so we're talking about kids, trail runners, hikers, regular dog walkers, and everybody. Community. Just get them out there. And in this park we're talking about specifically is horrible for cross-country skiing, but like, cross-country skiers, like in the wintertime, get out there, if you can handle the rocks and the twisties and turnies and
get after
it, go for it. You know? And so we were very specific in our language, that we wanted everyone to have access to this park for all the reasons why people should be in nature. Physical activity, mental health, all those things.
Togetherness.
It's vital. Yeah. Community.
Yeah, community. You need to be able to demonstrate that you can occupy a space productively, respectfully. Right. At the same time. That's important.
Absolutely.
Instead of getting territorial.
Yeah.
And trying to make it, this is a mountain bike trail. Go hike somewhere else. Or, this is a hiking trail. Go mountain bike somewhere else.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I was a hiker before I was a mountain biker. So like just having the understanding that we're all the public, and we should all be there.
This whole trail building thing, sometimes I feel like the mountain biking community pretend like we invented trails. Trails are innately human.
Right.
And initially, they were created with your feet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Through corridors of travel.
For a walk. It's what they call it in Ireland.
Are you a hunter?
No.
So I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
There's a thing called game trails. The game aren't out there with excavators.
Right.
They're just regularly using the same corridor of travel, which creates a trail.
Yeah.
I use those trails sometimes. I walk on them because it's interesting to see where the animals actually go.
Yep.
You know, what they use for cover, where they're sleeping. So I think that the more that you can delabel a trail
Yeah.
and just really bring it back to the fundamental human use and importance, the better.
Yeah.
I was just up in the Keweenaw. Stacy and I went up there because we're prepping for Crusher in July. And
Can't wait, by the way.
yeah, it's going to be, well, it's going to be something.
Yeah.
But we had a meeting. I had to stay up there Friday until 4 because there was a meeting for Cork, which is a Keweenaw outdoor, I think it's recreation committee. The coolest thing about this group, and to the best of my knowledge, it's the only one I know of like this in Michigan. They are comprised of all motorized and all silent sport groups working together with a collective vision for the Keweenaw Peninsula for outdoor recreation. You got, you know, snowmobile clubs there, ORV club is there, Copper Harbor Trails was there, there's hiking clubs that are there, representatives from Keweenaw Search and Rescue, Grant Township. So you got some township officials that are attending the meetings. Aaron Rogers from Rock Solid is there. And as a community, an actual community, and what I mean by that is, you know, a community isn't just defined as people you like.
Right.
Your community also includes maybe people that you don't see eye to eye with, or maybe sometimes you don't like, or they're doing things that aren't in alignment with what you do, but they're still part of your community. And that Cork group, in my opinion and estimation, is demonstrating the most unique and promising model for community I've seen yet. Because most groups, as you know, they're very good at representing themselves. And sometimes them representing themselves is in direct opposition to other groups in the community, which if groups in the community can't get along, you're hurting your community.
Yep.
Your community is not going to be the best version of itself, driven by some organizations not being willing to get along and support each other.
Right. Right.
So Cork, shout out to Cork and what they're doing in the Keweenaw. I think it's phenomenal. I personally, you know, in addition to being obviously involved in 906, I'm on the North Country Trail Board.
Yeah.
Yep, here in Marquette.
Yep.
That has been a huge thing, I think, for both us, 906, and them, North Country Trail here locally. This chapter, because if you sit in a room, all of a sudden, the person across the table seems human.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you humanize one another. And then you realize, like, we have more in common than we realized. And then also, I'm a secretary on MUPSA, which is Michigan Upper Peninsula Snowmobile Association.
Okay.
I like working with those guys. I don't snowmobile. I mean, we groom, you know, for Polaroil. I'm not out recreationally snowmobiling, but in my opinion, snowmobilers were like the OG in statewide trail infrastructure. You know, they got trails going across
Everywhere. Yeah.
across the Upper Peninsula, across the Lower Peninsula. You know, they work with the state of Michigan. Tons of work has been done by that program.
Yeah.
You know, we've oftentimes referenced it as a model for a statewide model for creating connected trails.
Right.
The work they've done is phenomenal. Don Britton, who comes in occasionally, he stops in to see Mark and I. He's like, Don, he's in his 80s, right? He's got to be 80s.
Yeah, I would think.
He's been in the game forever. He was part of the Iron Ore Heritage board. I think he recently stepped down. He's been involved in the snowmobiles. He's got so many cool stories about trails and just the history of recreation in the UP. He rides around town like religiously every day on his e-bike. Big, bright safety vest on. You always know it's Don if you see the safety vest.
Right on.
Just cruising.
Hey, put some miles on.
I see him every day. I think he lives on his bike.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point is, he's a snowmobiler. In theory, we would have reasons to not get along.
Sure. I think I shared that story. We were together at the Quiet Adventure Symposium earlier this spring.
Yeah, back in March.
Yeah. And Jamie and I were walking around the convention hall, I guess, if you will, but started having a conversation with the NTC folks. Or NCT.
Yes. That's right. I remember the story.
It was hilarious. Jamie and I were talking to them. Oh yeah, we've ridden the NCT on our bikes so much. Up in Marquette, and then we rode sections in Big M, and our friend Mitch DeYoung put this bullshit course together in Big M for Jamie and some of her friends. And by the way, Mitch DeYoung is putting together some ridiculous courses these days. So he's taken a cue from you, I think.
Well, he's done that. He's doing that for Cowpie, right?
Yeah, he did
the EX version of Cowpie.
Yeah, we just did the EX 125 just a few weeks ago. Jamie, my son, and another friend of ours. It turned out to be 132 miles. So not many more miles than the 125. But the file said like 2,600 feet elevation. It turned out to be like 7,000, something like that. So
you can never trust the file.
No, never ever trust the file ever. Yeah, I learned that with my first Margie. I was like, oh, this is going to be that bad. It's 50 miles, like 2,000 feet. I forget what the file said that year. But then I got COVID the night before, and
I remember that when he got sick.
Yeah, and so still finished. By the way,
yes, you did.
Yeah,
wasn't pretty, but you got her done.
It was rough, man. I was at the start line with 102 temp. Jamie just like kind of propped me up there at the start, and she just pushed me off when the whistle blew, and I just struggled through the whole day. It was a rough day, but that was my first 50 experience.
Yep.
I took the training seriously, and I bought the whole Rob Lee plan, and like we did it all. And so I was like,
how did the Rob Lee plan go for you? Did it work?
It was great. Yeah.
So were you doing heart rate or power?
I was doing heart rate.
Okay.
Yeah. I still don't use power. I probably should, but I still go.
I mean, you can do both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Rob would just say, and he's always told me, he'd say that power doesn't lie. Heart rate can lie because of environmental, how you're feeling, your hydration, like all sorts of different physical anomalies can throw heart rate.
Yep.
Where you might think you're in zone 3, but you're actually in zone 2 because of whatever's going on with your body that day.
Yeah.
Whereas power is power.
Sure.
100 watts is 100 watts.
Yeah.
200 watts is 200 watts.
Right. Yeah. No, it was a great program, especially someone. So I started riding mountain bike in late 2020. It was a COVID pickup for Jamie and I.
So that's what drove you, was the pandemic? What kind of brought you there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
We had a couple friends that had been, actually one of the fellas I coached wrestling with, he'd been bugging us to ride bike with them for years. And we were like, nah, we're good. We're busy. We travel a lot. We hike a lot. We're out there. We're okay. Mm-hmm. We don't want to buy bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Our best, we had Walmart bikes, And I think I had like one of those Next full suspension bikes, red, white, and blue from like 1990.
Sweet.
And
America.
Yeah, America. And so, but we were so bored in late 2020. We're like, hey, let's go for this ride. And we actually went to Burchfield. And we get out there, and we were just like, loved it. My buddy's wife, didn't trick Jamie into coming, but she's like, we'll put a picnic out. We'll bring wine, we'll drink some wine after the ride's done. And Jamie's like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do that. And
bring wine. Was there cheese involved?
Oh yeah. Cheese and meats.
Man, bougie.
Real charcuterie.
In the UP, you'd bring beef or venison jerky.
Okay. Yeah. I'm down with that. But yeah, so we started riding bike in late 2020. So I was a noob to the whole mountain bike thing when I decided I was going to do Margie, and the idea came from Brett Miller. And so
that doesn't surprise me. He was all in.
No, dude. Yeah. He gave me my first, winter trainer, he put it in my hands and got me training through the winter. And he was like, Jim, you love this athletic stuff. Like you got to start competing at a different level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at what Chad and Nicole were doing, and because they were leaders in the community where we were at, and then the other contingent of epic mountain bike people and triple MBA people that were just all in on Margie stuff. And I was like, all right, I gotta try this, And coming from the world that I did with wrestling, like I hadn't been, the idea of that challenge hadn't existed to me in a really long time. The idea of doing something that I wasn't sure.
Did it wake something up?
Yeah, man, it really did. Yeah, for sure. It was asleep. It went to sleep. I was coaching and kind of helping kids reach their potential, but like I wasn't reaching mine at all. Yeah. Not even close, really.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, picked up the Rob Lee program, got really dedicated to it, and it worked. It worked. I mean, it got me through.
Well, it's a big surprise, right? That if you follow a training plan that's well put together, it works.
Weird. And so, it even in the midst of 102 temp day of the event, like it got me to the finish line. Yep. It was not the day I prepared for at all. Like definitely wanted to quit like 20 different times throughout the day. I think second Jackson Park stop was like over an hour just sitting in a chair, just shivering in under blankets, and then you just drag yourself back on your bike and you keep pedaling. But so the next year I decided to do the 50 again because I wanted to really ride the 50.
Yep.
And so ended up taking 3 hours off my time, and I still did the Rob Lee plan again the next year, and it was perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfect day on the bike.
I trained with Rob from 2019 until 2023. So I've taken a break working with him because I'm more focused right now on strength training. That's not his realm. He's endurance, cycling, running, etc. But what I love about working with Rob, aside from just getting to know him and his kids and his family, I mean, all virtually through Zoom because he's in the UK, but his training, the plans are based or driven by science. Okay. Plans are driven by science, anatomical, physical adaptation, and data.
Right.
It's all data. All he does is lay the plan out, and it's sequentially laid out to create certain levels of training stress. You're stacking week on week on week on week, take a week, lower, recover, keep building. All data driven.
Right.
He's very analytical, which I think, for me, I'll say, this would probably not be for everybody. Some people, I think, need, more soft touch and more coddling or encouragement in their training. Yeah, hoorah, whatever. Yeah. And that's cool. Like whatever works for you, by all means, do it. I don't need that. I just want to know what the plan is. Exactly. I want to know why this is the plan. And then once I understand that, I'll just let me go execute the plan.
Give me the details and let me go.
Yeah. And he's really good at that. Like he doesn't blow smoke up your ass. He doesn't waste your time with a bunch of long, flowery emails. You ask him a question. If you ask him a question, that's where he might get long-winded, because he will thoroughly explain what he is telling you, why he's telling you that, what the rationale is, what the science is.
As any coach should be able to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super detailed in that regard. So, well, I guess we'll just say this is a plug for Rob Lee.
Yeah, I guess it happened. Yeah.
And his training. So you did it with him 2 years?
2 years.
Have you trained with him since or taken a break from it?
Took a break this year.
Gotcha.
Kind of doing my own thing.
Yeah.
In prep for it, which might be a bad idea. We'll see.
Yeah.
In the fall, but
I don't know. I think that for us, like we're not. I'm going to say we're not aspiring to be elite athletes per se. We're not aspiring to win, Margie.
Right.
Right. You're aspiring to maybe deliver your best personal performance.
Day. Yeah, possible.
I think depending on how your life ebbs and flows, and you've recently had an ebb.
You're not kidding me.
Right? You have to be realistic about training. And I think sometimes you have to change the training or step back and do different training because you'll burn out.
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to read for yourself when it's time to make a change.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I did about a year and a half ago. I was like, I need a break from this. I need to do something different. I'll go back. But that change was really a positive for me.
Yeah. For now, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, it keeps you away from burnout as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Make sure your understanding or your training, your mental library is deeper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're adding to the arsenal of things you can do to improve yourself personally.
100%.
Yeah. It's a good thing. And strength training and endurance, you know, they seem to live in such opposite worlds. When I had that conversation with Rob about, hey, when I log my strength training workouts, why does that not show up in the TSS score, the training stress? And he's like, well, obviously it does create training stress if you're lifting, but it's not relevant to building endurance. So the system doesn't count it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but
But I'm working.
but my body is still working and taking on that fatigue. So if you're going to have sort of a comprehensive model for human training stress, I think it should include both.
Right.
It's insane to me. It would ignore what you're doing in the gym, right?
Yeah.
That'd be like if you're trying to train at a high level to go compete in a lifting event while doing a bunch of high intensity endurance training. You know, if your trainer is just like totally ignoring that, you need to keep doing this volume of lifting for this event. Doesn't matter if you're doing all that other high level endurance stuff, which would be counter.
It is counter.
Intuitive, right, for those goals.
Yeah. Because you're talking mass, you're talking weight.
Yeah, and the endurance is just burning it off.
Burn it off. Get lighter. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go full keto.
Yeah.
Lose all the
keto.
the fat.
Have you done keto?
I've done all of it.
Have you?
Through the years. Like I've done every diet. I was a wrestler. I've done intermittent. I've done keto. I've done paleo. I've done.
What's the thing that works for you? Is there one thing that works better than the others?
Yeah, actually. The keto style diet, caveman, basically, is what I prefer. But I also skip breakfast. So I do a form of intermittent still. I used to be a 20 and 4 intermittent faster, which meant...
So, yeah, describe what that is.
So a 20 and 4...
This caveman doesn't know what that is.
Yeah, so 20 hours of the day I would not eat. I would drink water. I would drink some Element, some coffee.
You would never survive that.
No.
You should see this guy. He just crushes lunch. He's a machine.
Yeah. But yeah, 20 hours of the day I would not eat, and then 4 hours.
20 hours?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
A great question. Vanity, maybe, like for real. And then for 4 hours, you just kind of like slam calories. And then at 10 p.m. at night, you just shut it down, and then you can come back at the next day at 6 or 5 or whatever it turns out to be. And
that's keto.
That's intermittent.
Okay, intermittent.
Yeah, like I would eat whatever.
But where's the keto fit into this?
Well, keto. So, oh man, I am not a scientist.
Okay,
by any means. So, but I've had some fun conversations with Chad Cottom about this just over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, interesting.
Because he's attempting this style of diet.
Hey, let me ask a question. Is Sean keto or is he carnivore?
I think he eats a lot of meat, whatever that is.
I think he's just straight up like meat, slabs of meat.
Fat, meat.
I'll have to ask him. I think it's a carnivore diet.
Yeah, if I tried to explain what keto was to you, I'd have a lot of very intelligent people correcting me.
They'd be in the comments.
Yeah.
That's
so
funny.
my understanding.
I'm going to say while we're talking here, I'm going to ask Sean what he's up to.
Yeah. So, oh, by the way, Anna Puppy,
yes.
Anna Montana, Anna Banana. Since I set her down off my lap, she has been laying on the floor this whole time.
Yeah, she's stood up to stretch like 2 or 3 times and laid right back down.
Yeah, she is a phenomenal,
not barking,
phenomenal pup. So if anyone wants to foster,
shout out to Anna.
Yeah, she's a rock star over here. Or we're just that boring. Like we just put her.
How does she get along with squirrels? We got a couple gray squirrels out in the front yard.
Again, Nicole Chad conversation. Like I don't know. I've had her for 24 hours at this point. She took a trip up north with me. So and she's been awesome the whole time. But she hung out with James Morrow for a little bit yesterday. They were testing her out.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been cool.
James should make a set of panniers that can go on Anna for the next owner. Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah.
James Morrow, get on this.
Yeah.
Panniers or some sort of pack system for Anna.
Doggy packs.
Bonus gift for the new owner.
A new angle to that business model. Yeah, doggy packs.
Hey, can I connect this to the Bluetooth?
Yeah.
So
keep talking.
So keto, I think is mostly protein based, very, very low or no carb based diet. So it's something that forces your body.
No carb or low carb.
I think it's no carb.
Dang.
Yeah.
Could you do that? No carb?
No way.
I was going to say that is an impossible task. You'd be texting quitter right out of the gate.
I love bread too much.
Quit.
Bread. Yeah, quit already.
I'm on a seafood diet.
Seafood diet. That sounds
that's
expensive.
what I was for the 4 hours every day. And it actually turned out to be I was very low body fat. I was walking around at like 168 pounds, which is extremely light for my build. And my blood tests were horrible. Everything was off.
Why?
So bad. Because those 4 hours, I would eat anything I saw.
Interesting.
Chips.
So you got off of that.
Yeah, I'm off that. Very controlled, normal diet. All the colors on the plate, vegetables, meat, carbs, good carbs. I start every day with a cup of coffee. That's about it. But then
just one?
Yeah, about two. Yeah.
What are you at every morning?
Cups?
Yeah.
5.
Oh, yeah.
5 up till about noon.
Yeah.
I'll have another cup at 2.
Give me some.
I don't shut it down for the whole day, but yeah, I'll have afternoon coffee for sure.
I just started sprinkling some of Al's espresso on top.
So we love the caffeine here.
So I'm going to try to call Nicole.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I don't know if this is going to work, I did connect to the Bluetooth. You got the volume up on that channel?
We're going to talk some Zigplaid then.
You want to put odds on whether or not she answers?
It's like, I'm going to say 60-40.
60 what?
Not answer.
I'm going to say it's like 90% doesn't answer.
Oh, wow.
Shots fired. All right, here we go. We're going to call
Let's
her.
go.
Yeah, there you go. Got it right.
She's going to be like, hello. Come on, Nicole. 60%. Let's go. Oh.
Hello?
You
she
lucky
is.
son of a bitch.
There she is.
You are
What?
live.
Hey, you're live on MADE U.P right now, so behave yourself.
What? Okay, well, I'm talking to you on my watch, so I have to grab my phone. What's going on?
We have been talking so much about Anna Montana over here. And
I thought you were going to say, we have been talking so much shit about you over here.
well, Zigplaid
we will
did
after
just
we
get
hang up,
mentioned.
actually. From this phone call, we will start talking shit. But
Yeah.
we're trying to plug Anna. All right? We're trying to find her a home. So I figured we should call you, and you can try to put your pitch right here. It's going to go right out with the podcast later today. Why should somebody take Anna? What's Anna's story, Nicole?
Anna came from a kennel down south. She was a hoarding situation where she was in a cage 24/7.
Brutal.
So, yeah.
Can't imagine.
So Happy Feet Pet Rescue went down south and picked up 22 dogs and brought them back. And so they're currently, I think probably half of them have been adopted out, but Anna's one that is still waiting for her forever home.
Jesus,
How did you get pulled into this? How did you get connected? What's your part in this?
Because I can't ride right now, and I was really bored, and I felt like I needed to do something positive, so I decided to be a dog foster for a while.
Oh, okay. So how long has she been with you?
She's been about three weeks now, I think.
Yeah. Is she
she's great.
behaving herself?
Yeah, she's really great. Seriously, she's athletic. She's very smart. She's alert. She's vocal, but not too vocal. She gets along great with dogs. She loves people. We did just find out she doesn't super love little kids, but I think that's just a matter of her being exposed to somebody.
Yeah. Right.
Like right in her face, probably with an ice cream cone. You know.
Yeah.
I get that way with ice cream too.
Yeah. Yeah. Rub my belly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, not you, Nicole. I was looking at James when I said
You're right. You better put Zig Plaid on if that's going to happen.
Oh my God, the Zig Plaid.
Yep.
Al looked amazing in that.
I saw
by
the
the
photo,
way,
man.
at Margie Camp.
Yeah, you look like you were in it.
That outfit was steaming.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
It
was.
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
You can fit.
I think someday it's going to happen for you, Todd.
Well, we can keep
It's
hoping.
one size fits all.
Well, that's the problem.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, Nicole
the
said
problem.
yesterday that it needs to be some sort of fundraiser.
Yeah, I don't know who would put money toward that.
Oh, I think a
Oh,
lot.
I know. Oh, there you go.
Add a dunk
Thank
tank.
you for saying that.
Yeah.
You
In a
just-
dunk tank.
Yeah,
dunk
dunk
It
tank.
is going to happen now.
Yeah, it's live. It's
Oh my God.
put out in the universe.
If
It's going to
anybody
happen.
out there wants a picture with Todd wearing the Zig Plaid, I'm going to hook you up.
Yep.
This doesn't end well. This does not end well.
Fundraiser. Yeah, ABC fundraiser. Yep.
So Anna's coming back to Lansing, right?
Yes. Yep.
But if by chance this podcast goes out today and it finds her a home, are we committing to getting Anna wherever she needs to go to her forever home?
Yeah, between here and the UP.
Yeah.
I could take her anywhere.
Between all of us, we'll get her done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, I threw out this idea. Tell me what you think of this. Because I heard
Yeah.
that she went and visited with James Morrow.
Yeah, she did.
I think that James should create like some packs that'll be like a bonus gift to go with Anna. So Anna can carry like gear for somebody or a panniers, like
my
a
gosh.
Anna pannier set. Be badass
Oh, with
from
like
Morrow
little
Packs.
paws on it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
James, get on this shit.
Run her over to the shop before you head to Lansing and have her measured up.
Sized up.
Yes.
Get the template. Yeah.
Somebody tag Morrow in this after we put it up and tell him to get on it.
Oh, he'll be on it.
So much
sure.
is happening. So much is happening.
Yeah, he does. He does a good
Amazing.
job. He does a good job.
Yeah, James is awesome.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, good dude. Just all around good dude.
Yeah. Yeah, James is creating a pack for me for Crusher.
Nice.
From one of my photos from Ireland. So like
Very nice.
I'm super stoked to get that on the bike.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nicole, we had a wager. I did not believe that you would answer the phone, so I lost.
Yeah. I'm the winner, Nicole.
Well, I looked at.
I figured you're going to
Nice.
send me the voicemail.
No, I saw it. I was like, oh shit, Todd's calling me. I better answer that.
I'm glad you did, and I hope we find Anna a home. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to happen. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk to you
All
soon.
right. Peace out.
Later.
All right.
ya.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Cottums are awesome. Awesome folks. They've been amazing friends.
Yeah. Good people. Good family.
Yeah.
You know, super active. All the girls are active, and
Yeah.
they're doing all the things.
Yeah, they have 2 girls up here now in the UP and
One
their
serving.
third is serving
Yep.
overseas. Yeah.
She just deployed, right?
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive time to go.
It's good. It's a family that's very service focused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good thing.
people.
It's what the world needs.
Yeah. Find your tribe. Make sure they're good people.
Let's talk a little bit about your recent ebb in life.
Oh man, the ebb.
So I'm gonna let you guide this.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cool thing to talk about because all of us, this could happen to all of us, any of us. You know, I'll preface it by saying it would have happened to me where I was had I not seen the writing on the wall. And I'm like, no, I want to control my destiny here.
Right.
And thankfully, you know, that worked out. I mean, you could try to control your destiny and make some changes to go away from what you're doing and have it utterly fail.
100%.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes we romanticize like following our dreams. Let me tell you something. It ain't romantic.
It's hard work.
It is not romantic. It is a lonely fucking place.
Yeah.
So go down that road and use extreme caution before you do.
Yeah. The rent is high and it's due every day.
The rent is high, the stakes are high, and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. Yep.
So take her away.
All right. So, career of 25 plus years, same place for quite some time. I was notified about a month ago that services would no longer be needed.
Total surprise?
And total surprise, man.
Didn't see it coming.
Not one bit. 25 years, moved up through the ranks in the organization for all those 25 years. Not one negative, review, nothing. Just yeah, thanks. Good luck.
Was this just a position elimination?
Yeah.
So not a department elimination.
No.
So department's there, the people that you worked with or worked for you,
Yes.
still there,
Yep.
but your position eliminated.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of changes over the last few years from where I was, and some changes that maybe I saw coming.
Sure.
Possibly on the horizon. If I was not lulled to sleep on it and feeling a little overconfident. But
What do you think? What was lulling you, or what was the overconfidence driven by or created by?
I always, I referred to this position with Jamie all the time, like as my golden handcuffs. Like
You've used that reference when we've talked.
Yeah. It was a term that I've used for 15 years probably, because I have had different goals that I've always wanted to pursue, and just never took the step out to do them, because of this position. And so, comfort, regularity, just it was dependable.
Yeah.
It was always there. It wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
And so, when you have those things in your life, you can get comfortable. In
Probably
those
some
spaces.
friendships, relationships.
Tons of friendships. And that's maybe the hardest part about this thing is that, that position was so good for my family for so many years. A lot of people I've had conversations where a lot of people are like, well, screw those guys, and I'm like, I don't even feel like that either.
Yeah.
Like that job was great for me and my family.
Right.
And so, and the people that were there, the friends that I made over the time, awesome people.
Yep.
And so, yeah, not even hard feelings in that area. Just a ton of change, unexpected change.
In the post that you had put up, you were referencing kind of what went on at Bike Club during that ride with that young man.
Yeah.
I think that you overlaid a little bit of your personal experience with what had recently happened. Yeah. Did you indicate, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I'm trying to recall as accurately as I can. Did you indicate, however, that it was a bit of an initial kind of struggle, wrestling with it?
Dude, yeah. Yeah, I've been extremely hard on myself,
Hard on yourself for what? Like blaming yourself for not seeing it, not having made a change, or what?
Yeah, probably not making the change in time.
Not being proactive.
Yeah,
on your terms.
Yeah, because the space between like making small choices and then being forced to make a decision is huge.
Yep.
And so there's a huge space where we can make these small choices all the time, every day, over years. that can point us in a different direction, and then all of a sudden we never make those choices, and then all of a sudden we're forced to make a decision.
Well,
and
the decision gets made for you,
or it's made for you.
You're
Yeah,
not forced. You didn't make a decision. Somebody made it for you.
Yeah.
Now you have to do something.
And then it just happens. And so yeah, there's second guessing of decisions that I made when I was 20 years old that were absolutely positive decisions for my boys and my family and things like that.
Right.
Absolutely. But sometimes we can look backwards and go, man, if I would have tried something different, I wouldn't be in this spot right now that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so you kind of go back through time and you go, well, I could have done this different. I could have done this different. And at the end of the day, it doesn't change a damn thing, right? And so those are just mind games that we're playing with ourselves, so
I'm assuming your benefits were pretty good.
benefits were
Pay is probably good,
benefits pay was awesome,
right?
Yeah,
That's all great.
Yep. It's all and it was always there.
Insurance,
Yeah,
all the stuff,
yeah,
the things that you would put value on
100%. Yep.
as an individual with a family with kids,
Right.
right? I mean, that is partially where I'm not going to say they get you. I'm going to say that's where the system gets you.
Sure.
The system just being like a corporate model or a business model.
Right.
A well-run business model is going to compensate people relatively well, provide things that they otherwise would not have themselves.
Sure.
And that's what kind of locks you into that,
Yeah.
to that rail.
Golden handcuffs. Man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that where you came from, that department's gone?
It is.
And that was you left a year ago.
Yeah, a little over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots happening right now, and things that we don't prepare for this stuff. But I texted you the same day that this happened.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of power in doing the type of things that we do is we choose our hard.
Yeah.
And so when we choose things that are hard and then we complete those hard things, it in just a small way, it prepares us for those hard things that come along that we don't choose.
This is why we do hard things.
Yeah, this is it.
This is why we voluntarily do hard things that we could otherwise not do.
Right.
To prepare for when we don't have a choice.
Yep. Yeah. And so funny thing is, this was like our Lenon family motto from when we started having kids. Like we would take our boys on 12-mile hikes. We would hike the Appalachian Trail with our sons, and my youngest, who's now working for the DNR, he's a fisheries and wildlife major at MSU. Like he loves to be outside, but at that time in life, he hated it. Hated it. I remember a Father's Day.
That time in life being how old?
Oh, he was 10.
Okay.
I would say.
Sure.
8 to 10. Like we took him on a hike in Smoky Mountains, Mount LeConte. It's the highest vertical climb in the Appalachian Trail system. It was going to be Father's Day hike. Like super excited as a dad. Like take the boys on this hike, and we were gearing up for it. And Ty, my youngest, he fought me the whole 12 miles. And hated it.
Yeah.
Didn't like a thing about the hike. We got to the summit and it was fogged over. Smoky Mountains, right?
Sure.
It's fogged over. We couldn't even see anything out there. So he's like, I don't even know why we did this.
Yeah.
We got rained on.
What's the elevation at that point?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
What would you guess? 5,000?
Yeah, right around 62.
Okay. All right.
I think.
Get to the top,
Highest
can't see a
point.
damn thing.
Highest point in the Appalachian Trail, can't see nothing. And we didn't see anything on the whole day.
Yeah.
It rained on us. It was foggy. Yeah, nothing. And so fast forward about 10 years, he's a sophomore in college doing a public speaking assignment at MSU, and he writes a speech on one of the most pivotal days in his life.
That day.
It was that day.
Yeah.
You know,
What was the takeaway?
Basically his parents forcing him to do something hard that he had no desire to do.
Yeah.
But it could, you know, in the process completely changed his perspective on what is beneficial for him and what is actually hard.
Yeah.
Too. And so the doing hard things has been a family motto of our family since well before I knew anything about 906 and the trilogy events and Adventure Bike Club. And so this has been something that, you know, I sit back and I go, okay, I kind of prepared my whole life for this, you know, and ready to take that next step and into an area that I've kind of always wanted to go, which I'm still focusing that laser, but as a graphic designer in college, I picked up the camera. I've been shooting professionally on the side since 2005, and so full-time photography work was always something that was very attractive to me, and multiple times throughout my career, I would reach critical mass with the photography work, and I'd have to pull the photography side back just so I could fit it in with my career, with my 9 to 5. And so I'm not in that space anymore. And so now we have a new adventure, and that's exciting and scary.
You know, what's interesting about what you just shared with that little hike to the top. So, you know, most of the time, if you're going to climb to the top of something, you're climbing to the top of it for the payoff, which is the view.
Right.
Right. That's the finish line. That is the goal. This panoramic, incredible view that we can take pictures of ourselves on top of and put it into social media and tell everybody how awesome our life is.
Right.
But then you get to the top of the climb
and there's nothing.
There's no view. It's foggy, right?
We got
light
no
mist, rain, nothing.
Yeah.
The interesting thing on that is if you could recalibrate from the view being the reason you're there to just the experience of the climb to the top.
Right.
The actual climb.
Yeah.
Picking your way over the rocks, between the trees, through the fog, the experience. I've done this on hogback here locally. You know, when the fog comes in off the lake. There's nothing like it.
Right.
You know, if you've never been, and hogback is not that high, you know, it's not like the Appalachians, but if you've never climbed to the top of something big that is above everything else, and you've stood in fog to where there's nothing, you can't see anything, typically what will happen is as you descend, you can actually then leave the fog.
You get below it.
You get below it. Mm-hmm. So all those experiences are like, that's where the gold is.
Right.
It's the climb that matters. The effort it took to get to the top is the most important thing.
And to echo that, and the payoff for me that day as a father didn't come till 8 years later.
Yeah. Patience.
So, you know, it was funny. We were sitting on the couch. My son shares that story. Yeah, I just made this speech about the Mount LeConte hike, Dad. Yep. You know, best day of my life. You know, it was like, what? Where'd that come from? You know, and he just kind of dropped it on us. Like, you know, it was.
Well, it was obviously impactful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously impactful. And I think that, you know, for parents, I think sometimes you're looking for the immediate satisfaction of knowing something that you've had your kids do or some lesson you've trying to impart. You want the immediate satisfaction of knowing they get it.
Right.
But the truth is, you might not know that for 10 years.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
The case in point with your story. That's why it's so important to do a lot of this stuff as early in their development as possible so that those moments can take root.
Marinate. Yeah.
And they're there. They're in there bouncing around.
Yep.
Right? And they will reveal themselves, but maybe not for a while.
Right.
So you're just going to have to be patient.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The other side, you know, to this has been I think something that 906 communicates quite a bit is that it's the community factor.
Yeah.
You know, finding your tribe, and I think you spoke about this at the summit, not this past summit, but 2 years ago. Is the tribe aspect, and having that tribe and having that community, and you know, this has been something just completely shocking for me over the last month. But man, I wouldn't have even come close to gotten through it the way I have without that community that's been built around me. And so, you know, a lot of folks talk about that lone wolf, like, you know, I keep my circle small type stuff. And I've never been a big supporter of that mentality because we need people. And there's going to be points in life where we need maybe a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And so that small circle might not benefit you in the long run. And so so that has been huge in this process. Jamie, she's been freaking amazing, you know, just the support and the confidence building that she's hardcore. She's doing the Margie 50 with Christian, my oldest, this year. And so she's a do hard things type individual as well. So this type of stuff doesn't really scare us, but it is scary, you know, if that makes sense, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, life is different right now. You know, when you asked me to come up, and I knew this would, you know, I knew we'd talk about it, and because we've been talking about it a little bit over the last month, but I think I've prepared for it as well. So it's so we're excited for the next
What lessons
stage.
have come from it? Anything? Like, is there anything that's sort of been illuminated in the past month since it happened that wasn't there previously? Anything you'd share with somebody who feels like they're sitting with golden handcuffs on?
Yeah, comfort is a killer. Comfort is a killer. So in retrospect, like I told someone the other day, like I was getting ready to coast into retirement, and I've never been that type of person. I'm not a coaster, you know.
Sure.
And so something about it was changing.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
And so, and it's that comfort factor. And so,
was there nowhere you could have gone upwardly?
No. So
that's a tough scenario because, you know, if you hit the point and it's really good and there's nothing beyond it.
Yeah.
That can kind of, I think that can start to result potentially without even knowing it's there in some level of complacency.
Yeah, within the organization I was at for 6-7 years, I had ceilinged.
Yeah.
So there was no more upward mobility whatsoever, outside of, you know, bonuses and raises and things like that.
Right.
But position wise,
nada,
without leaving. And so,
yeah.
So the comfort kept me there for a long time. And so now we're uncomfortable.
Well, you seem to be doing all right with it. I mean, it's opened up. I mean, the cool part is, you know, the other side of it is it's opened up a world of opportunity now.
Yeah. So
all bets are off. You can do whatever you want, really.
Yeah. So I've been a professional photographer for over 15 years. From 2010 to 2020, I was a freelance contracted photographer for GMC and Buick and Verizon and OnStar and different large brands. You know, I traveled the country on weekends and red eye flights. You know, I'd leave work on Friday and take a red eye somewhere, shoot a truck for GMC through the weekend in the Pacific Northwest, and then fly back Sunday night, go back to work on Monday, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, my portfolio is there, you know, and And so I just never did it in an entrepreneurial
Sure.
way, which is super exciting right now.
You were doing it more driven by passion?
Yeah. Yep. So,
It's what you liked to do?
yeah. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the best thing to turn into a business.
Right.
What you like to do.
Yeah. Can either ruin it or build it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when Gavin was going into college, he was going in for broadcasting, but everything he was doing in his spare time, every minute of spare time, was going into graphic design, social media design. And I just looked, we were riding the car somewhere, and I'm like, have you ever thought about graphic design?
Right.
And he's like, no. I'm like, well, just from an observation as your dad,
That's what you're doing.
it's all you do in every minute that you don't have to do something else.
Right.
So you clearly enjoy it. And that's what he's doing. I mean, he's down right now, actually. He's down near Detroit working for a semi-pro baseball league
Nice.
on an internship, doing some graphic design. We're going to go see him actually this weekend. We're going to be down there. But yeah, he's doing what he loves to do.
Yeah.
And that's important. Because I think a lot of people are not doing what they love to do.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're doing it in part because of all these things you get for doing it.
Right.
The things that you obviously need and you got to value to some degree.
Yep.
But it puts you in a corner, man.
Certainly does.
It does.
Yeah. Career-wise, I was in management and administration, and one of the things that I love to do is community build. And so beyond photography work, I am a community builder, and I work with the Mid-Michigan Mountain Bike Association. Working with people is one of the things I love to do the most.
Sure.
And so, I don't think I would ever say that my career didn't feed me in a way where I was pursuing a certain side of what I was passionate about, because working with people is something that I absolutely every day love to do. I love to have conversations and talk and meet new people. But it was also very sterile, and it was very emotionless. So yeah, this is gonna let me branch out and do something that I can do for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I shared a little bit with you about some of the changes I had to make. This goes back, I don't even know, 15 years, 10 years. The thing about if you're gonna, so let's say that you become aware of the fact that you're in a corner because you've succeeded in whatever you're doing. You've got to a spot where you're making decent money and you've got decent benefits and you're comfortable, right? And you're in a spot where you could maybe put her on cruise control.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you get to that place, I was in that place. I was, we'll say, approximately 40. There was more upward mobility for me in sales management, but that would have been regional sales manager, then vice president of sales. That would have required moving. That was off the table because Gavin's here.
Right.
And I wasn't going to leave him because we had shared custody between Mom and I. So I wasn't going to go anywhere. But I also looked at it. I'm like, I'm 40. I can't waste my best years on cruise control.
Right.
I also don't have a lot of options. Right? So when I finally decided to leave it, the first thing, everybody assumed I was a lifer. And when I put in my notice and people heard I was done in a month, they were like, what? What are you doing? Because I took probably a 40% pay cut.
Sure.
Not even a sniff of the benefits, right? Not something you would do.
Right.
So let's say you're in the spot professionally where you're thinking about this. Well, if you go talk to anybody about what you want to do, they're going to tell you you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. Bad idea.
They are going to tell you, no way. Nobody does this. Don't do this. They're going to talk you into staying. I didn't talk to anybody. I just put in my notice and I'm like, hey, it's been a good run. Thank you for everything. I'm here for a month.
Went for it.
And I just went for it. Now, I jumped to the next thing. I took a big pay reduction. I took a reduction in benefits. But I've never valued money. So to me, I was actually gaining, right? So this is kind of also a little bit about where do you put your value and why is your value there? Maybe take a look at that.
Right.
So I go to this next thing, and as I get to this next thing, as part of this move, I start 906. And I start pouring myself into the new job and 906. I gave as much to 906 as I did the other job. When you come from corporate sales management, you're used to being on the road all the time, never home, always on the clock. Mm-hmm. So me coming home, being here in Marquette County, now I'm looking at like, I can just consolidate all of my effort here instead of out across Wisconsin and Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. That ended up leading to a point where now, shit, I got to leave this job that I left the other job for. And I have to potentially be willing to try to go to work for 906 with no promise of an income. Again, another insane decision to make.
Right.
Most people, if you talk to them, they tell you you're fucking crazy. My wife was the only one that said, you have to go for it.
Yeah.
She was the only one. So I made that jump. Now, here's the other funny thing. And I'm just talking through this because if anybody's planning to do this, you need to know the road is all uphill and it's enhanced is all hell. So you leave, you go to take it, you've left a job, you left the job, now you're going to take a job that you don't even know if you're going to make any money, right? Now there's people who see you taking a job that they'd want to have. And they're like, well, why is that guy got that job? Well, guess what? Because that's the fucking guy that went for it, right?
He took the risk.
He took all the risk.
Yeah.
Everything, every risk. And risk getting nothing in return. That's what it takes. Like the road to getting where you want to be or to do something you want to do, it's I don't care how long we make Margie Gessick or how long we make the Crusher, this type of journey we're talking about, this adventure of life will forever be harder. And all this other stuff that we choose to do and we pay to do, these are just preparatory steps that we take to be able to do the other stuff that's deeply meaningful.
Right.
You know, my kids, I've told them, listen, I've broke every rule along the way. I've done exactly the opposite of what the average person would do. I'm not telling you, my boys, to do it because it might not work for you. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to do it, you need to be prepared to pay the price. And that's a price, I think, that unfortunately, it's just hard to pay. You know, because you could end up in the end with nothing.
100%. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe the bottom line is you've got to be okay with nothing.
I think that is a choice that you have to bank. If it's a time frame, or if it's just overall. This is a conversation that Jamie and I have had multiple times since deciding that I'm going to make a go at my own business. Is that life will look drastically different, and it could be amazing, and all signs are showing that it's going to be solid. Yeah, the work that's coming in has been fantastic, and it continues to come in, but it could be the opposite, So we've given ourselves a timeline, given ourselves realistic expectations, what we're comfortable with and what we're comfortable dealing with, and then we'll just see what happens. But yeah, she's been a rock, man, and it's just confirmed that she's like, you would have never done this had this not happened. You have never truly made an attempt to follow your actual dream in life. And so you mentioned like making these wild decisions at 40 years old. And I think, individuals, men, women, we get to this age where we're like, are our best years already passed? And we start, saying those things to ourselves. And we speak that negativity, and we start believing it a little bit, especially when the first 40 were amazing years. You're just like, oh no, was that the best it was going to get?
Yep.
And so those are the like the real hard personal conversations.
Yes.
That we have to deal with and go, maybe they weren't, but I'll never know unless I try and go for it. So
kind of lull, you can lull yourself into this sense of believing and acceptance, like without even realizing it, to your point about the best years being behind you. Cause you'll just start making like, funny references to, we're not getting any older, or, it's like it's not like you're coming out and literally saying, I'm giving in to where I'm at.
yeah.
Right. You're not literally saying, it's over. The best is behind me.
To it.
But you're alluding to it. And it's almost like you're kind of softening the landing for yourself to stop pushing at that high level. Frankly, to be very honest, I think you're a knucklehead until you're 40. I don't think for the average person, me for sure. 40 to 45 is where I literally kind of woke up and pulled my head out of my ass. And I'm like, okay, I've had enough life experience. I've fucked up enough stuff. I've had enough success now that I think I got a bearing on how to do some stuff.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
Yeah. I think that there's this misperception, this lie that is kind of cast out. Like you're supposed to get through high school. You got to go to school for 4 years. You got to know what you want to do the rest of your life. Fuck that. How do you know? You haven't even lived any life yet.
Yeah, I was on a photo session with a senior just a couple weeks ago, and I turned to him and I said, "Hey, what are you planning on doing? For a career?" And when I asked it, I felt guilty. I was like, "This kid doesn't know. He's 17, and very rarely, every now and then, I'll get a client that's like, oh, I want to be a pilot. I'm going to go to aerospace or whatever, like engineering or." But no kid knows that at 17, and rarely do people know that at 30.
They don't. Whatever they're doing, they're probably doing because that's just what they ended up doing.
And
you get it and you get deep enough into it where you're like, well, fuck, I don't want to start over.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Right?
Yeah. I remember. So as a district sales manager, I'd have to hire marketing associates, salespeople. So there's this kid one time. This is toward the end of my career with this broadliner. It was the world's largest food company. That's who I worked for, distributor. So I'm interviewing this kid. I know I'm leaving. Might have been within actually the month that I'd given notice. We have this process for hiring called targeted selection. You have to go through the handbook and the pamphlet. You got to ask the questions. You have to write down their answers. I fucking hated it. He and I both knew he did not want to sell food, but he needed a job.
Yeah.
He had no interest in food and restaurants. There was nothing culinary about this kid. So he's in trying to get a job. I'm going through this. It's painful for me. It's painful for him. I finally, after 40 minutes, I just quietly close the interview guide and I sit back and I'm like, can we be honest? And I feel like when I said that to him, it took a weight off. And he looked at me like locked eyes and he's like, yeah. And I said, we both know you don't want this job. And he's like, you are absolutely right.
Nailed it.
So I said, okay. I said, the interview's over. You're not getting the job. Tell me what you want to do. If you could do anything in the world, I said, kid, tell me what you would do. And he started talking about being a trainer or he wanted to do something with athletic sports teams. And he just talked about it, just got him talking about it. 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I just looked at him and I said, do yourself a favor and fucking go after that.
Yeah.
And don't stop going after that until you get to do it. And that was the end of the interview.
And
I saw his mom. I haven't seen him again, but I saw his mom a year or two later at a Rotary, I think it was Seafood Fest. I can't remember the name of the event. It's here in Marquette. We were volunteering to help them cook lobsters. And somehow he had told the story to mom, and mom heard I was there, and she tracked me down. And I have this history of never knowing if a mom approaches me, if it's going to be a good conversation or a bad one, even pre-906. But she came up and she's like, "Are you Todd Poquette?" And I said, "Yes." And she was like, "Do you remember interviewing my son?" And I'm like, "Well, remind me." And then she kind of told me, she's like, "You told me he wasn't going to get the job, and then got him talking about what he wanted to do with his life." And I said, "Yeah, I remember that kid." And all she said is, she said, "Thank you."
Wow.
She said, "That was huge."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just thank you. That was it.
Yeah.
And she walked away. And then I kept boiling lobsters.
Yeah. Kept going.
But how often do you think that happens in an interview?
It never happens.
No. I can tell you I hired kids. This is going back to, when do you really know what you want to do? I hired kids in their mid-20s that had no business doing it. And I was probably doing them a disservice by hiring them and putting them on that path. Now, I'm not saying, I do want to qualify something. I do feel like through my experience in the corporate environment and in everything I did, as a delivery driver, as a transport driver, hazardous material driver, operations manager, like I got to see all ends of the company, operationally, sales, management, every end. I understood it from all sides. That was that was better than going to college. So it's not to say that was a complete waste of my time, because it wasn't. It helped shape who I am. But in part, maybe I got lucky, and I'm just wired in a way that I was able to take the value and the lessons from it. I don't know that everybody is, because I think some people will get thrown on a track, and they're not going to take the chances I took for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And they're gonna play the game that everybody else ends up playing. Because they might share like an idea they have with a friend or a family member, and they're like, "You're fucking crazy. You can't do that. You got a great job. You got benefits. You got a family."
Yeah, financially irresponsible. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very nuanced. It's very complicated, and at the end of the day, nothing's guaranteed. Right.
Right.
But I don't know. I think that, for anybody, I was really happy that you were willing to share some of this, because in your average person, which I consider us part of, just our average everyday community, normal people, living normal life. This is the stuff we're all faced with.
Yeah.
These are the things it's hard to talk about. You don't want to talk about it, but we got to talk about it. And sharing those experiences with each other, I think, can help other people who are going through it.
Yeah.
I'm guaranteeing you somebody's going to listen to this, and this is going to resonate.
Yeah.
Because you're willing to share it.
And how common it is. Yeah. Because
too common.
I actually stopped by a friend's place to pick up a bike rack for my kid just a couple of days ago, and he asked, and he's like, I've read a couple of your posts on social, and there's something going on there. And
yeah.
And so I gave him a little background, and he's like, "Oh no," he goes, I just went through the same thing."
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people that are dealing with it that aren't talking about it either.
True.
And so because I didn't know that he had gone through it personally. There's just folks out there dealing with their own shit and in silence. Mm-hmm. And that's some dangerous stuff.
And they feel alone or isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's happening everywhere.
I just talked to somebody yesterday, actually, from within our 906 Adventure Team youth program community. And we had to connect about something on the phone. We weren't able to do it until close to 5 p.m. He was at work. And it just happened to come up as we're talking. He's like, "Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get back to you. I was at an off-site meeting all day." And I remember from my corporate days where it's like, oof, off-site it's never a good indicator. So I'm like, "Well, how was the meeting? Was it a good meeting or not?" And he's like, "Oh, it wasn't a great meeting." And then I said, "Well, what was it about?" And I heard the word reorganization.
Yeah. It's a scary word.
It is a scary word. And we just chatted for like a minute and a half about it. And I'm like, "Oh, that's never a good thing." And he's like, "Yeah, huge reorganization. Everybody's afraid for their jobs."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's reality for a lot of people.
A lot of people.
And I don't think that I don't want to blame the people that make those decisions, but I will blame the system that's been built
Sure.
that devalues and dehumanizes people and look at us just merely as resources that can be extracted until the extraction has been completed. Move on.
Used up.
Yeah, the system is fucked. I didn't have a better way to describe it.
Yeah, it's a good descriptor. Yeah, it works. It works.
There's a lot of really good people out there that if they were employed by and worked for an inspiring organization, inspiring mission, and group of people, they would give everything for it. We see it with 906.
Right.
Look at what people give to work with the kids. Look at what people give to literally come up here and volunteer for days on end in what you would consider to be misery. But in reflection, it's some of the best moments we have.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
There's something to that.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
What else do we have to cover?
Oh, man. What else? Shoot, man. I think I probably have like the smallest cycling resume of anyone that you've had on this podcast yet. So when you asked me to come on, I was like, oh, this is intimidating.
But it's not a cycling podcast.
Yeah.
It's made up.
It's made up. Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. We had Shelley Wellings on. Mm-hmm. She owns a archery shop.
Yeah.
That was a great conversation. It was actually pretty funny to hear her talk about how, so at the time she was married to a different guy when he encouraged her to open the shop. So she opens the shop. She loves archery. People would come into her shop. This is what, 30 years ago-ish, 28 years? I think she said she's owned it for 28 years.
28.
People come in to this archery shop. They see a man and a woman. Who do they go to ask for advice? The man.
The man. Yeah.
She was talking about that a little bit.
Dude, I actually have this conversation with Chad and Nicole all the time. They own a bike shop together. And dudes will walk in and literally walk right by Nicole.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Just like, you guys know that she's a badass rider, right?
Yeah.
Like, and right by. So, yeah.
But when they walk by her, that's not a reflection of Nicole.
No.
That's a reflection of that individual's personal journey.
Yeah.
Of where they are in their development.
Very nice way to put it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but because I think sometimes it gets taken personally. Shelley had said that, I asked her, I'm like, well, how'd that go? How'd you take that as guys are coming in, walking past the owner to talk to the guy who doesn't bow hunt and doesn't know shit about archery? And she was like, I'll be honest, back then, probably took me 5 years. I wasn't too happy about it.
No. Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with them.
Right.
It has something to do with the other person's view of, I guess, people in reality.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't have to worry about cycling resume. We don't even talk about cycling resumes. We need to strike that as a reference on the podcast.
There's stories in there.
There's stories. You have stories.
Yep.
Oh, there's stories.
Yeah. And that's what Made Up's all about. It's stories. It's about people.
Yeah.
It's about experiences that can be shared.
Dude, I can tell you this. Finishing the Margie 50 in 2023 with COVID. I didn't know I had COVID at the time.
Just knew you were
sick.
sick.
To be clear, I was just super sick.
Yeah.
That emotion of finish was probably the best competitive feeling with myself that I'd had since 1996 when my team went to state finals in wrestling. Mm-hmm. It was something special. And then 3 weeks ago, did the Cow Pie EX with my oldest son and my wife, Jamie. And he had the same emotional response when we pulled back into Ionia for that finish. And Joe Cantwell was out there. Like, it was like almost 10 o'clock at night. The Ionia's tiny town, and town was empty, and we could hear a cowbell. It was Joe downtown Main Street, just slinging the cowbell, and Christian says, he said, I teared up.
Yeah.
So those things are cool.
Yeah.
Those moments on the cycling resume. Those are the cool ones for me. I'm excited for this year. This year was supposed to be my hard year.
Well, it is your hard year.
Yeah. I told you actually 2 years ago that I set 2025 to be my hard year, the Crusher 175, the Margie 100. And I didn't know that I would be dealing with this at the same time. So none of that changes. I'm still Margie 100, Crusher 175, and obviously, the personal stuff. But it's kind of strange that I had set this up 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Mental preparation for this summer to be the year.
So no inclination to bag Crusher and Margie because of the extenuating circumstances around the employment.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I think that approach is abnormal. I think it'd be more common to be like, I can't do that.
No, we need to, as humans, we need to try things that we might not be able to complete more often. Like, we're so concerned with failure and ego about completing and finishing and doing shit that, like, we just throw out the possibility that we might be capable of so much more than we think. And so yeah, my training was strong until about 4 weeks ago. My training's, the last month has not been great, but but no.
What's your plan for training between now and let's say Margie, because Crusher is pretty close.
Yeah, so training for Margie will be cross training with running and cycling, probably 100 miles a week on the bike.
Yeah.
A little, maybe 6 to 7 miles of running a week. I don't run much. I have arthritis in both my feet from wrestling forever. So multiple surgeries in both feet. So I run as much as I possibly can, as much as my body will allow. And so it'll tell me each week how much it can do and what it can't. And so, which is why cycling's been so good. The toe joint specific, don't hate me as much. But, hike a bike on Margie though.
There's a bit of
a
it.
thing.
That's the rumor.
But yeah, probably 100 miles a week. I've instituted a lot more Zone 2 training this past year, which has actually been super beneficial for the endurance and the things.
You're speaking Rob Lee's language,
right?
When you talk Zone 2.
I may have learned a few things.
Yeah, that's his bread and butter.
Yeah. So we are going to just continue with probably the next 3 weeks for 100 miles a week, and then just a coast into Crusher. I'm really looking forward to that though. I love Copper Harbor. I love those trails up there.
What are you riding?
I am riding a full rigid Borealis Crestone with 29 plus wheel set, so 2.8s front and back. Maxxis Recon 2.8s.
Recon's a good tire.
Yeah. I think it'll be the wrong tire for something on the Crusher. It'll be the wrong bike for something, but yeah, Borealis Crestone converted down to a 29 plus. I added a PNW suspension dropper post on it for some more mountain bike specific sections that I've heard talked about. Flat bar,
yeah,
with 2 different hand position additions. So I threw some arrows on it, and then I have another bar end position too that I added.
Did you see what the front end of the MS-175 is? Have you looked at the pictures we've shared?
Yes. Yeah.
Single track.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my love. And so.
Have you ridden those trails?
Yes.
So you've been on point 1, 2, and 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I've rode, so the last, I think 3 years, Jamie and I have taken week-long trips up to Copper Harbor.
Good. Oh, then you're familiar.
Then
you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
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 That's good. Yeah, so, I think the front end's like 30 miles of trail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
pretty damn close.
I'm stoked, man. people that come up camping, the bears are real.
They are.
Last year we had our campsite ransacked by a mama with 5 cubs, and not even lying, 5 cubs.
Yep.
Just tore the whole campsite up.
Yep.
And we had a rooftop tent on my truck, and she was up clawing at that thing. And
Yeah.
so make sure your like food is packed up real good and tight, and don't leave peanut butter pretzels in a bag on your bike. That was the call of the wild, and that was all on me.
Well, and that last year even at Otter, they had issues with squirrels because people were leaving food in their packs on their bikes, and the squirrels were like military grade, just eating right through the pack to the food.
Yeah,
and we've seen when Mark and I were up there with Billy and Stacy when we ran Crusher out of there in 21. It was just the 4 of us, right?
Yeah,
it was just the 4 of us running the event because we were still kind of in the COVID era. And that morning, I remember seeing a black bear running around in the sites.
Yeah.
They are there.
every night.
We are not making this up. We are not, hyping it up. It's for real.
And they're really good at the night after our bear incident. Well, 2 nights in a row we had bear incidents, but we were talking to a neighbor at a different campsite, and they were like, yeah, the bear literally opened our Tupperware thing and pulled out the hot dogs and then shut it. Like they're like Yogi Bear type activity.
Aaron made some comment when I was up there about the bears knowing how to open doors.
Yeah, they're talented.
Enhanced black bears
for
this year's Crusher.
Well, they're so. I think they're comfortable with those campsites, and so many downstaters are coming up, and they camp like they're downstate, and so they leave stuff out.
Oh, they're camping like they're at a Holiday Inn.
Yeah. Leave stuff on their picnic table. That bear opened up my cooler and drank all my beer. We heard the cans popping all night long. It was frustrating. Yeah,
that's funny.
I got pictures of the cooler. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, man.
That's wild. That's wild.
So even, don't even trust the beer coolers. They'll get into those things too.
We haven't shared this yet. I'll share one thing about Crusher so the MS 175 is going to climb up Brockway, the steep side. Then it goes into Raptor, Whoop-de-Woo, Garden Brook, and out. Mm-hmm. The MS 100 follows the same route. We've decided for the 40. So the 175 and 100 are going clockwise out to the point and then around and shooting, eventually south to Houghton Hancock. The 40 is going to go up Brockway, the steep side, all the way down Brockway Drive to the snowmobile trail.
Okay.
And that's going backwards. So the first 2, the longest, and the 40, they will end up seeing each other. So that's a little tidbit of what we're doing there. They will pass each other. We've timed it out where we think that the traffic from the 175 and the 100, where it'll meet the 40, is somewhere out in Mandan.
Yeah. If folks haven't seen Brockway Mountain climb, get ready.
Oh, man. It's so much fun.
It's a good warm-up.
It is a good warm-up. Yeah.
Jamie and I, we did the Rough Stuff rally last year at Upper Harbor.
Yep.
And that was a great event. And but this will be something else.
It will be, man. The Keweenaw is something else. There's nothing like it. It's enhanced.
Yeah.
It's an enhancement level that other area, Munising, where we were at. Great, super routes, but they're just really different. A lot more elevation in this year's, and just rockier and nastier. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just there's no way to do it any other way.
Super fun.
It is super fun. I mean, what a freaking opportunity to go up there and spend. And we extended the time cutoff also 5 hours.
Oh, lucky. For some, it's going to be.
Well, I put in the group, I'm like, there's good news and there's bad news.
Yeah.
The good news is we've extended your cutoff this year 5 hours. The bad news is you're probably going to need it.
Yeah. It'll be necessary.
So the cutoff, instead of being 20, we're 29. 29 hours is the cutoff this year for the events.
Mhm.
Last year was 24.
And we're still looking at, you're recommending plus size tires.
I would.
Yeah.
And something that is geometrically mountain.
Bike. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus. Yeah. You running 27.5?
27.5 by 3.
Yeah. I'm 29 by 2.8.
Yep.
And I've been running that since 2020.
Yeah. I saw a post where you said 29 plus would be perfect. Like maybe 3 months ago. I immediately ordered some Velocity dualies. And
yeah, that's a good wheel.
yeah.
And your Crestone, actually, this was not purposeful or intentional, but when we designed Lake Effect, that custom bike that I ride.
Yep.
So Brian, the builder, went to great lengths to take all sorts of measurements from me to figure out how we should build that bike. So the bike was built to my riding style and my build. I had ridden a Crestone for years. So I was kind of interested, and I asked him, I said, will you take the geometry, the Lake Effect, and will you overlay it with a Borealis Crestone? I'm just curious how different they are. And they're like damn near dead on the same.
Nice.
So I think that Crestone is actually a really good bike.
Yeah.
With the plus size tires on it for this event, this route.
Perfect. Yeah, I rode the Cowpie 125 EX on the Crestone just as a tester.
Yeah.
And it did good. It was, that was a pure gravel route.
Yep.
For the most part. So I was definitely overbiked for that route, but it did fantastic.
Well, it makes sense though if you're going to use that for the Crusher.
Yep.
To train on it in another event, good shakedown ride.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What kind of packs you got on it? Well, you're getting something from James, but what's on it right now?
So I have on it right now. I have a half frame bag. So it's just in the inner triangle.
Okay.
Half frame bag.
Water bottles below it?
A large bottle below, and then orange mud pack on the back.
Okay.
With a lot of pockets.
On your back?
On my back, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't love packs on the back, but like for something like 175, I'm gonna have to have a pack.
Sure. Seat pack?
Handlebar
pack?
Handlebar pack is on it currently. That's what I use for 125.
Gotcha.
So yeah, backpack, half frame bag, and a bar pack.
Anything on the fork? Water bottles or anything?
I'm considering that right now.
I would.
I have my life straw and
I would.
But yeah, we can add.
I'd get some ounce on there.
Okay.
I'd put the water on there.
Oh, I like this. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people will be glad we had this conversation.
Without question, put water down there. Yeah.
Got it.
And life straw or whatever your filtration device is.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you'll get a lot of opportunities to filter water while you're going through water.
Right. Good to know.
And you can filter while you're washing your bike. Yeah. No, the course is cool. Kiko's helped put together a hell of a course.
Oh, his podcast was awesome.
Yeah. And, it's cool. I've said this before, and we're saying again, like, we have really been intentional with where we're routing the route through for historical relevance. So a lot of the checkpoints that you'll end up having to take your selfies at, there's a lot of deep historical value to these checkpoints. These checkpoints are telling stories. So I won't get into what the stories are. You guys can figure that out when the field manual comes out, and you'll start to see it, and then you'll experience it. But
when's that coming out, Chad?
For the mass start, I think, let's see, the event's on the 20th, so we'll release the field manual on the 21st. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
You'll get it. The field manual for the mass start will come out the week of the mass start.
The week of the mass start.
Yeah, probably Monday. EX is going to drop, I am hoping, let's see, Sunday. That's the field manual with the checkpoints.
Yeah.
But, like yesterday morning, I set the EX225 route to live so people can see it. Mm-hmm. So each day of this week, I'm revealing one of the routes until they've all been revealed. So this morning, while we were getting ready here, I revealed the EX100. So that's out there now.
Nice.
And then probably do the EX beer, 40 beers, and then the other couple over the next couple days.
Nice.
Yeah. We did give a link to those folks who are doing the point-to-point. I think I sent them another email last night, actually, after I got back from Bike Club. We sent them a link to a Google map that shows the unofficial route. Because that point-to-point is 500 miles. They've got from Tuesday morning until Sunday at 10:30 in the morning to finish.
Right.
That kind of event is a huge, huge, huge undertaking. So I want them to have the opportunity to kind of, with their support crew, if they have one, or if they're unsupported, kind of figure out, like, what are they looking at?
Yep.
So we did update. The course is, I'm going to say, pretty much final unless there's something we have to change due to some shift in logging activity. Mm-hmm. But the trail orgs are all aware of it. They're on board with what we're doing in their particular trail clusters. Hiawatha and Ottawa, we're in good shape there. I think logging would be the only thing that would affect it. That route right now is at about 530 miles. Wow. Yeah. So it's going to end up in that 520, 530 range.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Christy McBride was messaging me last night about it, asking a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it. It was actually pretty funny.
Those folks are impressive. Yeah. I can't imagine.
Let's see what Christy said. Oh, so she asked, she said, 2 questions for you. Any recommendations for figuring out where it's okay to set up camp outside of a campground? And then, as an unsupported rider, could I camp on my own property or a friend's as long as I don't go inside and no one helps me? Those were 2 questions. They're good questions. So I responded and I said, as far as camping goes, riders will need to follow state and federal guidelines for dispersed camping. If you camp on your property or a friend's, it's fine by me/us if you are following the rules. I added a caveat. I said, take this from someone who knows how much people like to talk shit. If it becomes known you camped on your property or a friend's and people find out, they'll probably try to make it seem or sound like you cheated. Because they will. Because people can be assholes.
Right.
Sleeping inside, I said, sleeping inside. Oh, because she had said she was looking at the Houghton Hancock area. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't know where I can, if I have to camp dispersed, I don't know where I can camp there. It doesn't look like there's a lot of state or federal camping opportunities. So I responded to her and I said, well, it sounds like you need to make a friend in the Hancock area fast.
Maybe the podcast.
Yeah.
Facilitate that.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody needs to hook Christy up with a place to sleep up in Hancock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's those are good questions.
Absolutely.
This is the best part though, like just the excitement and the trepidation,
preparation,
and the preparation of getting ready for this, regardless of what distance you're doing. Because for somebody who hasn't done the Crusher, who isn't used to this super long stuff, if they signed up for the 40 and they're used to doing other gravel events within, let's say the Michigan Gravel Series,
right? Yes.
This doing the Crusher 40 compared to every other 40 in the series, this is unlike anything.
Sure.
I mean, this is for that person who signed up to do that. This is a legitimate, daunting obstacle that when you finish it, you should feel fucking good about what you just did.
Awesome.
It doesn't matter how long it is.
I have a lot of friends doing the 40. So
yeah.
I love hearing that for them.
Oh my God. Yes. Like that, the whole, you know this because you've been in the events for a while, but the whole comparing or being the gauge of importance based on did you do the long one? No, we don't play that game. Like do the one that is a legitimate challenge taking you outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
If it would be potentially irresponsible for you to try to jump right to the 175.
Right.
Get up here, try the MS40. This is, I'd say the MS40, to be honest, is on par with the EX40 routes this year. 100% with the trails being in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The MS is definitely on par with EX. There's no other way to do it if you're in the Keweenaw.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't even really have to go and like search super hard for the hard stuff because it's just everything's
It's
hard.
just there. Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome.
It is.
When you get out by the rocket range, because they're going to go right by the rocket range. Mm-hmm. When you get out there, that's the most, remote tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula. All the routes are going through there. I mean, I think for us, it holds a little bit of a special sentiment because that's where we started both of our adventurous rides. Mm. But just going out there and standing on the lake and looking out into nothing, there's something fucking awesome about that, hey?
Good spot.
It just is. So if you're halfway into your 40 or whatever it is that you're, however far into it you are when you get to that rocket range, take a minute.
Yeah. Take a bath.
Take a beat and stop.
Appreciate the moment for a moment.
Right.
Yeah. Also because the worst is yet to come. Because they're going to take,
Take notes.
The front end for the 100 and the 175 has got a lot of the trail, and then they'll get into some stuff that's a little more forgiving at some point. They'll hit more bad shit on the back end. The 40, I'd say that the harder stuff's more back loaded, which is kind of, typical for our stuff.
Right.
So for the 40s, if anybody does pull this up and listen to it, I'd say be a little conservative on your front end. Don't drop everything you got in the tank.
Keep some back, yeah.
Yeah, because that last third is going to be challenging in a positive way.
Right.
In a positive way. We're not making the 40 finish by climbing Brockway and coming down Overflow. So really, once they get to Magnanees Road, then they're going to roll into Copper Harbor, and I think it's that Hunter's Point Trail. Is that what it's called? There's a trail through town. They're going to take that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We used it up there.
You said a certain route will come down Overflow?
The 100 and 175 do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Overflow or flow?
Overflow. No, flow. It would be the less technical.
Oh, okay, flow.
Yeah.
Flow.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be going packed down man pant or what is it?
Man
pants. Yeah.
Yeah. Flow. Sorry.
Okay. I was like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be a great way to
Maybe
aim for them.
full rigid isn't the way.
Daisy Duke sounds better.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it'll be good. It's going to be so good. Good
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Thanks for putting this stuff on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's an awesome opportunity for so many people to stretch themselves and grow and challenge and
It is.
and learn about themselves. So,
and they keep getting to see new areas. That the process of permitting this stuff and getting up and vetting the routes and literally putting riders on the routes, putting a side by side on the route. It's a daunting task.
I'm sure.
Especially when you're traveling into the Keweenaw and everything is so far away from home. Munising and Otter Lake and that area was a push the last few years because it's not Marquette. It's like a military operation for 6 months is essentially what you're running.
Yeah.
But when you get to the event and you start having people come to the finish line and you hear the stories and you see the experiences that people end up sharing, it all becomes worth it every single time.
Right.
Yeah. It's again, like embracing the climb or embracing just the act of doing. It's the doing that is really the prize. Getting a chance to do whatever it is we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we should get rolling because you got to go home.
Turn and burn, man. Heading south.
Anna's
got to head.
Anna's getting a little. She's getting a little fired up here. I think she's like, "Hey James, let's get the hell out of here."
She's like, we got to hit the road. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe she'll have a new home before you get home.
It's possible.
It could happen.
Yeah.
If I had trackers here from Track Leaders, we'd throw it in your car, and there could be like, following Anna home.
That's amazing.
But I don't have any. They're going to be here this weekend. Anyway, thanks for coming up on such short notice. This was awesome.
Absolutely, man.
Good luck with the new endeavor.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah. We're ready for it.
And we'll see you at Crusher.
Yeah. At the finish.
All right. Over and out.